Hello, plant lovers, and thank you for joining the American Herbalist Guild. My name is McKinley Daniels, and I am here with Zarah Cabañas. Zarah is the founder of Space Acres Botanicals. It is located in the Catskills of New York. Zarah, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
So let's just dive right into this because I
Yeah.
am so fascinated with this concept. It has become a phenomenon over the last 2 years. Well, according to me, it has. And so I'm intrigued on your concept of what forest bathing is. I know that you are a video artist, and so this what will be happening at Symposium this year is you'll be hosting a virtual forest bathing experience. And so give us your take on forest bathing.
Again, thanks for having me. Forest bathing is this very simple concept where a person spends unguided time, unstructured time in a forest. It's a wellness practice, and it's spending time in the forest in an unhurried way that lets you kind of unpack your senses and connect to trees. Very simple, very easy in concept. But a lot of times people have a hard time with it, right? Uh, it's about tuning into the senses, tuning into your senses, and literally letting your whole body and your whole mind connect and explore as you connect with the forest. So, that's kind of it in a nutshell. When I go out into the forest, the thing about it is that, you know, people can call it forest bathing. In Japan, it's called Shinrin Yoku, this idea of connecting with the forest. And there's been a lot of research around Shinrin Yoku, and it started in the 80s. But my personal take on it is that anyone can really do it. It's born in us. It's an innate thing that we know how to do. It's just that we need to carve out time for it.
You touched on something there for me. It was innate, and carving out the time to do it. Now you are in the Catskills, jaw-dropping Catskills of New York. Give us a little bit of a snippet of what it's like for you to host these forest bathing experiences for folks right there in the Catskills.
Right. So I'm in a wonderful place that my husband and I kind of landed ourselves in 10 years ago. It's called Space Acres. It's our creative sanctuary. It's kind of the heart of all of our creative pursuits. And part of that is, we were New York City people. We met in the city. We did video art and music together. We were artists, and we would live this very connected life. But every time we went to the Catskills, it was as if we got grounded. And if there's anything about, if anyone who's lived in New York City for a while, there's a special connection between the city and the Catskills. If you are a New Yorker and you've managed to earn your chops in New York City and do the New York City life, at some point you're going to realize that Prospect Park ain't gonna cut it. And a lot of New Yorkers find themselves in a car going up 2 hours to experience the beautiful mountains. And the mountains come and they open their arms, and they've always been there, and you've always wondered, why haven't I always been here? And therein lies that deep connection between the city and the Catskills. Um, so, when you first start coming to the Catskills, any green is amazing. You breathe the air, you smell the air, your body starts connecting in this very visceral way, in a way that you've always known, basically. And I think anyone who has lived in an environment that is relatively removed from nature, everyday life, experiences that. Whether you go camping, whether you go just taking a walk in the woods really quickly. And I do know that Shinrin Yoku started in Japan as a way to kind of alleviate some of that urban stress that people who are living in Tokyo were experiencing. Um, and you know how it affects that primal body in a modern context. So being here in the Catskills, at some point you start realizing there are people who have always known the forest. There are people who can break it down. There are people who know the trees. There are people who know the berries. There are people who've known the seasons. It's the knowledge that has always been here. And when you spend more time with the trees and you start realizing that the trees have always been there, a certain calm can kind of fall over you, and a certain kind of acceptance that time is much greater than you, and a certain kind of silence can come and wash over you, and a certain kind of way of connecting that has nothing to do with your left brain starts happening. And it just takes a very quick moment to let it happen. So the way we tend to practice forest bathing here in Space Acres is one is a practice of the senses. You know, you go out, commit to an unhurried period of time where you say hello to the forest, and you either choose a sit spot, choose something to focus on. You can choose a sense, visual sense, the sense of smell. Find a place to sit down and just let yourself observe yourself being in the present. And if a person can let that happen, pretty soon people find that they kind of have an instinct to know what to do next, and then what to do next. And pretty soon an hour passes by, and pretty soon 2 hours pass by, and pretty soon you're ready to leave the forest. And it's a wonderful kind of transformative experience that is very, very simple. Now, I have to say, and I know I mentioned this before, I am certainly not the expert on forest bathing. I'm not, I don't, do any of the clinical studies. I certainly have read quite a bit about it. I know it lowers your cortisol levels. I know that the essential oils in trees are literally boosting the immune system. There's a lot of, scientific research that backs up that connecting with trees is very good for people. But what I have observed as a video artist, as a mom of two, is that this practice of being in the forest is something that can't be optional. It's something that that really cuts through to the heart of how we connect to the earth, and how we can find perspective and how we relate to each other on this planet, simply by sitting there and carving out time to be in the woods. It can be really considered this like hippy dippy thing, but I mean, the heart of it is you do as you want with the trees. It's a communion with the trees. I mean, I think is what it is. And if framed in that way, I mean, wow. I mean, the possibilities of connection are kind of endless, right?
And, you say the possibilities are endless, leads me into the aspect that you bring to this whole experience at Symposium, which is the virtual aspect of it. And I think that it's key to hone in on the virtual aspect of it, not only because you are a video artist and you are in the Catskills in your sacred space, hosting these type of workshops and things like that for folks, but also for those who are in the city that can't get out into the forest or into just, the neighborhood of woods that they're around. That aspect that you're bringing to Symposium, I find that folks will also be able to take that home with them and then do what they will with it. And so could you also go into the virtual aspect of forest bathing that you'll be bringing to Symposium this year?
Sure. As a video artist, all you're doing is connecting through the projection to the screen through an immersive environment, right? So in my video art practice, I often tend to work live and concert improvisational kind of psychedelic visuals for music as a way to connect people to each other in the music. The beauty about working with trees and the beauty of taking on the concept of forest bathing as a virtual experience as a video artist is that it's just there's no barrier. The concept of forest bathing in the physical realm, when you're talking about walking in the woods and really using your senses, opening yourself up to it, these are the kinds of things I would say aren't necessarily trying to be replicated or substituted for in a virtual experience of a forest bath. You certainly can't get smell through projection. You certainly, it's a completely different experience. But what's amazing about it is that because people are so tuned in to trees as people, seeing foliage and hearing a forest can immediately and does immediately connect to people's innate sense of being. And so, when you talk about the virtual aspect of forest bathing, to be able to bring the forest to someone, for example, who for some reason or another, through immobility issues or just by being stuck somewhere, being on a business trip, being on a plane, being just unable to get to a little slice of a forest. For me, being able to bring that to someone is a really immense. There's something really powerful to that. To be able to say, I see you, and this is intentionally meant for you. And if you join me for the 20 minutes, I promise you that there is something in here that is unguided, unnarrated, and something you've never seen before. I did one of these forest baths in the middle of the pandemic. It was an hour long. It was out in our forest. It was a beautiful autumn day. The wind was blowing. The leaves were bright orange, and the sun was really peeking out. It was amazing. It was a feeling that a little bit of space was carved out for them. And I think I think a lot of things can be that way. A wonderful piece of music can be that way, of let me open myself up to whatever it is that's in front of me. And I think it's a mentality, and it's a mental shift, I think, that allows people to really, in their own way, inspired to connect in other ways.
I'm sitting here and I am experiencing what you're explaining in a way as you go through the experience that one could have, knowing what I've experienced on a personal level with the forest. Do you happen to have any footage that you could share with us as far as the forest bathing that you have led?
Yes, I will send it to you and the back end of this. I would love to.
Without giving too much away as far as the experience that one will have with you hosting the virtual forest bathing experience at this year's symposium, give us a little snippet of what one could experience or will experience during this.
Okay, so I'm so glad you asked this, because this is a project that I've been shooting all year here in the Catskills. It's very site specific, both where I'm shooting it, which is in the Southwest Catskills of New York, to where I'm showing it. This video piece is specifically intended for the 33rd Annual Symposium in Bethesda, Maryland, which, by the way, is in my hometown. So that's very special. So, the gift for me is I can take a bit of this beautiful forest and shoot with the intention of a virtual forest bath throughout the seasons and present it to all of you lovely, amazing herbalists in this amazing gathering. So this is something that, I've been going out every month. I've been doing the forest bathing myself as I meditate with my very mobile video set, as I capture the little spider, as I look up at the sky and the sun and I hear the wind. All of this is getting recorded with a thought that it would shed some light on a forest that isn't performing. A lot of times, we ask the forest, oh, show me a flower that blooms, show me the amazing mushroom, show me the biggest tree. But most of life and most of forest is just what it is. So the video art piece is a year of 2022 at Space Acres Forest. And it's going to live in a specific room at the symposium. It'll happen on Sunday. The lights will be dim. There's going to be a large screen or projection of this video piece woven throughout the seasons. You'll hear the actual sound forest. Nothing is really doctored, just maybe, the volume will be up. And I think there's going to be a tea station, and you can just come over and sit and chill out a little bit. And I think that is what it is at the end of the day. And I hope it really brings people, for me, it's a chance to connect. I'm bringing my home to everyone, and for me, it's really a chance to connect, and it's really wanting to connect with everyone who feels connected to the work and connected to the kind of methodologies of the video art practice that I'm doing as it relates to herbalism. And for me, that's kind of where my personal, research has been going, is, this tying, my video art practice to my love to myself as an herbal enthusiast, and really exploring what those boundaries have been for me, and why do I need those boundaries, right? Like, why are there people who work with plants? Why do some of us have a strong aversion to digital technology? Why does it have to be either or? Isn't it that depending on what it is, it's all about the intention of how we practice whatever it is that we do? Whether anything is a tool, and it can be used for whatever that heart desires. So for me, the beauty in this work that I've been researching is really connecting with herbalists, trying to figure out where those kinds of boundaries are for them. How do you utilize all your tools? How do you view those boundaries, and how is it helping or not helping you so much connect to people. And I think that's the thing, you know, especially in these times, we're playing with a lot of boundaries. We're playing with, you know, and the time is ripe. I mean, you know, we're playing with boundaries of wellness and sickness. We're playing with boundaries of gender. We're playing with boundaries of borders. And, you know, it's not to say that, like all times, these are interesting times. But again, you know, these are our only times. And what we are working with now are some very palpable forces. And, you know, I think herbalists are really in a unique position to, you know, there's a lot of knowledge there about what it means to be connected to the earth and to each other. And what are those very important tenets that do connect people to each other, whether or not it is through the lens of herbalism or through the lens of technology or through the lens of music, or, you know, everyone wears multiple hats as herbalists. So I think that the very interesting thing for me in putting this piece out there into an amazing group of people like herbalists in the symposium is, you know, really seeing how, you know, how is something like this going to be experienced? How, you know, what of it will, you know, what will people take away from it? And what kind of questions will they have when you bring a forest to a projection screen in the middle of a conference room and, you know, in a hotel? So that's what I'm really excited about. Of course, all the other talks that I will be all at. So that's kind of the long and short of it, Nikimbre.
Well, Zara, I thank you so much for this time. It has been very sweet, and it leaves me intrigued, yet still, and there's a sense of openness for me as far as experiencing this virtual forest bathing experience. And I feel like I'm not the only one that feels that way, that will be watching, for those who will be watching this interview to come. And so again, I thank you, and I so look forward to the experience and meeting you in person at Symposium and having some conversations. And for those of you who have yet to get your tickets for this year's 33rd annual Symposium that will be held in Bethesda, Maryland, I highly suggest that you go ahead and take advantage of that. The experience can be had online and in person. October 21st to the 24th, and I hope to see you there.